my only goal here again today is to inspire personal investigation. This subject can be researched in great detail on the net, and articles can be found from every major scientific publication. MIT, for those who are familiar with that organization, Scientific American, New Scientist, Science Daily, all have numerous articles on geoengineering. If one chooses to use a term, other terms that have been marginalized and painted into the conspiracy theory corner, which I do not want to be a part of, I simply want to rely on science. You can find plenty of information to debunk that such programs could be going on. All I would ask is that each would examine this on their own, and if one looks at other statistics that would seem to correlate, again, you can take a 50-year chain smoker that dies of lung cancer, and you cannot conclusively prove that that's what killed him. But if you start to look at statistics over the last 5 years, the type of soil pH changes we've had, you look at other statistics, for example, respiratory mortality in the continental US in the last 5 years has gone from 8th on the list of mortality to 3rd. What's the reason for that? ADD is escalating off the charts. Autism, last report done in the southwestern US, autism has increased 100% in 4 years, 80% of which they cannot account for. What I'm saying is, whatever the source, these metals are there. There's too many lab tests to ignore, and the agencies are in fact ignoring them. There's yet to be an agency that will lift a finger to look at this issue. And the source, many people would rightfully consider that these aerosols might be migrating from China. Certainly a lot of bad things are coming from Asia, there's no question about that. California Air Quality Resources Board has studied the aerosols from China. Aluminum and barium and other heavy metals are not amongst them. It's not like mercury. If many of you are familiar with mercury showing up everywhere, you know, mercury converts to almost a gaseous state, and it can migrate across oceans, but not heavy metals. A report was done about a week ago by a very large organization on whales from the most remote corners of the globe. They just almost on a whim tested for inorganics instead of organics, which is what they usually test for. These whales were full of heavy metals, including aluminum and barium. And the statement in this report was jaw-dropping results of these metals being present. And so, again, my intent here is to try to inspire people to investigate this issue on their own, to keep in mind that whatever debunking information one might find on the internet on this weather modification geoengineering issue, these metals are there. They were not there before. The lab tests show that very conclusively. And it's very easy to take a rain test. It's $20 at the local lab. Our local air quality people refused to take a test, stating it would cost $1 million to do such testing. It's $20 for a lab test. So, you know, we have yet to have any agency recognition. And there is an interview, I believe, a journalist from Los Angeles interviewed one of the local air quality people. And it is posted on the internet. You can decide for yourself if he's telling the truth. And again, from a purely observational standpoint, if I could encourage everyone to look up now. In fact, since the few days after the radio show that was done a month ago, with also a U.S. Forest Service biologist was there with me, there was considerable aerosol activity for that day and the few days following, where you see, you know, lines extending from horizon to horizon and grid patterns and so forth. For the last month, we've had the clearest 3 or 4 weeks that we've had for about 4 years. There's a pretty strong consensus that with the resources they have for these programs, when hurricane season crops up, that they're experimenting in those regions, and perhaps that's why they're not here. There's no way to say for sure, but simply speaking, on the days when we see these aerosol, or these grid patterns in the sky, there's about 10 times more aircraft than days when we don't. There are definite differences that, whatever one's opinion, you can look up and start to connect the dots on your own. Again, my being here, and this is a battle I never ever wanted. I'm not a public person. I don't relish the task at all. But after so many lab tests, dust tests, water tests, cumulative tests from Line Pond that collected only rainfall with no other source of any other, no dust exposure, nothing, and you know, no contact with soils, you know, seeing a accumulated aluminum was 375 times the maximum contaminant level. I mean, the snow from Mount Shasta, the amount of rainfall aluminum we've had, I mean, all these tests prove conclusively that these metals are there. They're not coming from China. They're coming from somewhere. They match the patents for geoengineering, which you can find on the internet. And those patents describe specifically disbursement of these metals from aircraft for the purpose of climate modification. So all I'm saying is, I'm not making the claim that I know that's causing this on the ground. I'm simply saying that without speculation, the patents match what we see. This is what the international geoengineering community states that is happening, and the ingredients showing up on the ground are the primary ingredients in those patents. And if you wonder why certain days, if you look up many days in the last 4 years, not the last 4 weeks, but the last 4 years, the sky is a sort of a hazy white. And the weather also is described, again, that these programs appear to have been in high gear the last 4 years. They openly describe the consequences of geoengineering in this conference, that it diminishes and dissipates rainfall, making storms show up late, if at all. We've had a lot of that in the last 4 years, other than this last spring. I'm simply saying that a lot of all the dots connect in this issue. But whatever one wants to consider the source, these metals are there, and I would again, I hope there's a willingness for people to investigate, because whatever battles we fight, whatever, and there's many. I mean, I'm in full agreement. I mean, the train is very far off the tracks, governmentally, and we'll all need to work together to try to right that. But if we can't walk out the door and breathe without sucking in a lungful of heavy metal, then we're not going to be doing much for long. The neurological effects, again, are well documented, and the kind of particulates we're talking about, which were described in great detail in the geoengineering conference and are listed in the patents, are ultra-fine nanoparticle particulates. They can pass right through the lungs into the bloodstream, and the long-term effects of such exposure, and this is from physicians, would create an asbestosis-type ailment, which leads to a host of other things. So, again, this is an issue that affects us all. It's an issue that I think, if it's not brought to light, could have grave ramification for us all. So, with that being said, I'm grateful that Andrew invited me here to try to introduce this subject, and I would like to go to Q&A right now to answer any questions.
Two questions. First of all, do you have any idea where the major portion of the funding for this type of stuff is coming? Is it U.S. or is it global?
I would have.
And second of all, what is the future prognosis of our Earth and air if it continues at the rate that it's at right now?
Good questions on both counts. I would have no way to speculate on such funding, but it would seem clear that this certainly would have to be DoD related. And I'm not anti-military. I'm certainly not anti. I've given the DAV for 20 years, VFW. I mean, I care about our military, but I can't not believe that there would not be some involvement. And again, that's my speculation. The things that make me come to that conclusion, I'm not trying to force it on you, that the U.S. tanker fleet has this is the KC-135s. They've gone from 400 in the year 2000 to 1,600 today, an increase of 400% in the 10 years that we've seen these programs, and they're trying to get more tankers on the fleet now. And again, such things on such scales can only be going on with some sort of coordination, I would think. But that is my speculation.